Okay, everyone. I'd like to start off by saying this meeting will be recorded and posted to the Township Video website. Now you can submit your public comment by email to glippincott@westrock-hill-township.org. We will take public comment until the end of the meeting, and we will read the public comment prior to the vote at the end of the meeting, depending on what is appropriate. I'd like to start off by saying welcome to the June Township Supervisors meeting. I'd like to start off by pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If there's any public comment on the agenda items, please state your name and address. I don't see any. Seeing none, I would ask for announcements. We will be having an executive session after tonight's meeting. Any other announcements, Greg?
None that I can think of.
Okay, thank you. The consent agenda. Have either of my two fellow supervisors had a chance to read? Do you have any corrections or additions? Or can I entertain a motion for approval?
I've read everything. Are we going to have the township manager read the treasurer's report?
We are, yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Greg, would you read the
I
treasurer's
have read everything, no corrections, just waiting on the treasurer's report.
Okay, thank you.
All right, the treasurer's report for May 31st, 2022. The general fund, $1,243,971.21. Highway aid, $4,740.30. Open space, $1,295,407.71. The park fund, $40,738.08. The equipment fund, $18,220.01. Highway capital, $130.04. The street light, I admit people still. The street light is $38,697 or $697. The general fund reserve is $428,016.26. The American Rescue Plan is $273,986.62. Open Space Manderfield is $41,438.74. The Sewage Maintenance Fund is $184,569.06. The Stormwater Fund is $8,596.20. And the escrow funds are $2,331,119.37.
Thank you.
David Collingwood here. I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Okay, we have a motion made. Do I hear a second?
I will second. Hal Shermer.
Okay, thank you, Hal. All those signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Thank you. All right, moving forward, confirmed appointments. Mr. David Oliver from Grandview Health. Welcome.
Hi, Jay. This is Mark Horn from Grandview Health. Dave and I are working together on this. If it's okay, I'll do a quick presentation.
You go right ahead, Mark.
All right, thanks. Hey, we're excited to talk to you all tonight just for a couple of minutes about Grandview Medic 151. As you know, 151 has been in business for over 30 years and is the primary provider of 911 ambulance services to the township. I know back a few months ago, you all received some documents from the county about response times and things of that nature using the various ambulance companies. And we did a little deeper dive on that because it showed like average response time being about 22 minutes overall, being on the scene 9% in 22 minutes, which seems like a lot. It is a long time. We went back and did a deeper dive on that at the Grandview Health. And it looked like we're running about 79% of our times we're on scene in under 10 minutes. So we've been a good responder to West Rock Hill Township and to the citizens. So we're in a growing area right now. There's new housing starts up. Hospital has experienced a lot of growth on the inpatient and outpatient side. We opened up a level 2 trauma center, which is celebrating its first anniversary on September 1st of this year. And we're going for a 2-year accreditation. We had our survey back in May. what we're asking you all to consider is supporting Grandview Medic 151 as we add a 4th ambulance to our fleet. We're looking to do that because the number of calls have increased for us, both on an ALS and a BLS standpoint. We want to make sure we're there serving the citizens of West Rock Hill, and primarily not having to rely on other ambulance companies to come in if we're on a call. It's not always going to happen like that, but we really want to be in a position to handle more calls from not only West Rock Hill, but East Rock Hill, Percy, and Sellersville Borough. So I believe that we submitted to you all sort of a fact sheet about Medic 151, and we're looking to add a 4th ambulance on a 24/7 basis. New ambulance cost about $185,000 a year, or one-time purchase, and then the staffing about $370,000 a year. We're going to move forward in this direction, and we'd like you all to consider using some of the ARPA funding to help us pay for the ambulance and support Medic 151. And with that, I'll pause and see if there's any questions, or if Dave Aldifer or Brad Eliff want to say anything. Brad is our chief, and Dave's our director of development.
I don't have any questions myself. Either Mr. Shermer or Mr. Collingwood. Any questions?
Say proceed, please.
No
Okay.
questions now.
Okay, thanks.
So if I can jump in, one of the things that I think is also critical for you to know is that the 3G signal that you're probably all utilizing, or maybe utilizing with your phones and possibly the equipment that you use in the township, is also how we communicate from our ambulances to the emergency department at the hospital. The 3G network will be going away completely at the end of 2022. And that is adding also to our Medic 151 expense, because we will need to replace the monitors, the EKG monitors that talk to the emergency department pre-hospital. And that cost for the ambulances is another $240,000 on top of what Mark has already described in terms of the ambulances themselves. This is really critical to the communication that takes place pre-hospital, so that an arriving patient is already in the system for the physicians and care staff in the emergency department. So that's the other piece of this that is added on to what Mark had described. I also want to make sure that you understand that the calls that we have had in West Rock Hill are almost split down the middle between 911 calls and transport calls. And the transport part of this is really critical as well, because it gets patients out of the hospital to the next level of care, which frees the bed for an incoming patient. So there's a sort of a complication to where all of this comes together. But most importantly, to Mark's point, our response times for 911 calls in the community have been really quite good in terms of time and so forth. So I'll leave it at that for additional questions that you might have.
Okay. Brad, you have anything you want to add?
I have a question, Mr. Alford. The 240,000 you're talking about, is that for 4 ambulances to convert from 3G?
It's about 51,000 per ambulance. So I think that's 4 ambulances.
That's correct.
Thank you.
And do have one follow-up question. I know from our police reports that it's difficult getting cars and taser equipment, having to pre-order it. Are you guys going to be able to get that equipment? Because I know a lot of things are backed up with a chip shortage and supply shortages.
It's a valid question. We've checked with our supplier, and we do not believe there will be any delays in this. But you're right. We've seen delays in a lot of other things, but it appears that EMS equipment is a little bit more accessible for us.
So one other thing I would add would be that We have been in front of all the municipalities that Mark mentioned, Sellersville Borough, Percy Borough, and also East Rock Hill. And we have also made our pitch to the county for ARPA funds directly from the county to support EMS services. And we don't have any answers on any of those requests at this point in time.
Okay. Well, if there's no other questions, I'd like to thank you for your presentation. And the board will take your presentation under advisement, and we will be in touch.
Jay, thank you very much. We appreciate your consideration.
You're
Thanks
welcome.
for coming down.
Have a great night, everyone.
Yes, thank
Thank
you.
you. Okay. Moving forward, next on the agenda is the committee reports. First on the agenda is Planning Commission, Mr. Chris Durstein.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening. Planning Commission met last night. We had one applicant, which was Vera's Partners. As you know, they're proposing to construct a 185,376 square foot warehouse on the previous Drum Construction property, now their meeting house and Clymer, 17.11 acres. Use would come under a G3 wholesale business warehouse. And they are proposing their entrances on Meeting House Road, eliminating the entrance that comes in off of Clymer. They are proposing to widen Meeting House Road on the east side from State to the Rock Hill site contractor service site, and also put in a radius at the intersection of State Road and Meeting House. That radius is a recommendation from a traffic study that they had received. The hang up with that is they need to obtain the property from Rock Hill Mini Storage, which they have not done yet. They're also proposing to widen Meeting House to 26 feet from the Rock Hill contractor storage up the hill to their entrance. As I mentioned, they received a traffic impact study, and although it does recommend that turning radius, it did not show a need for traffic signaling at State and Meeting House, which was surprising to most of us. And since this study had been prepared, 3 more projects are under consideration that would impact that area. And at the same, it would most likely warrant signaling if all these projects were to go through. And also note that no reviews have come from PennDOT yet, so we don't know what they're going to have to say about this project. Steve has asked McMahon to formulate some type of a generic study incorporating the 3 future projects, just to give the Planning Commission and everyone else involved some type of numbers to work with on that. The project, they're proposing 3 stormwater basins, which are going to utilize spray irrigation systems to handle stormwater management. That's everything in a nutshell for now. There's a handful of outstanding issues. They were hoping to acquire a preliminary final recommendation, but Planning Commission members would prefer to wait for results from PennDOT and McMahon as well as some other outside agency reviews. So it's tabled for now. We're just waiting on those reviews.
Okay.
We did have a lot of public comment on the project as well.
Yeah. I would say I would agree with that, waiting on reviews from the outside agencies.
Yeah.
Mr. Collingwood or Mr. Shermer, you have any questions for Chris?
I have no questions. David Collingwood here. I attended the meeting. I think Mr. Durstein did a great job considering everything that was going on. I think we really need to do our due diligence. There's a lot of issues here that we just can't gloss over. And I think Veris has a lot of responsibility as well. So I just think we need to proceed judiciously and cautiously and get it right. I was shocked when I heard that they were actually thinking about, they were looking for preliminary final approval. There's just no way that was going to happen. I mean, we're not even, this is like the beginning of the beginning. So a long way to go if anything happens in the end.
Okay.
That's my
Thank
comment.
And agreed. I also usually come in to watch the planning commission meetings. Congratulations to Chris for running a very efficient meeting with a lot of people. And I even managed not to say anything.
And thank you for that.
All right. Wonderful.
I do have more,
Okay, go ahead, Chris.
but thank you for the comments. So we also had further discussion on minimum lot size in the RC zone. Our minimum now is 1.8 acres, which has been a sort of a unchallengeable standard in this area. Planning Commission member John Swearup did some research, and he came up with basically all the surrounding townships in Upper Bucks County, what their minimums were, and most of them do have higher minimums than we do. So it's something we're going to have further discussion on at our next meeting, and Mary, our solicitor, is hoping to join us as well to provide insight. So we'll let you know how that shakes out next month.
Okay.
And that is my report.
Okay.
All right. With that, I would entertain a motion for approval for the planning commission report.
So moved, David Collingwood.
Well, seconded Hal Shermer.
Motion's been made and second. All those signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Chris.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yep. Next on the agenda here is Conservation Committee report, Mr. Michael Schrameyer.
Good evening. Our last Conservation Committee meeting was held on May 19th. And here's the highlights. The township newsletter map that we've been putting in the newsletter periodically. New colors were suggested to the map published in our newsletter to better distinguish the types of protected park and open space resources in the township. I think if you look at it, you realize everything's kind of different shades of green, which currently makes it a little more difficult to identify the different types. So we're still working on that. New open space signs. The damaged signs have not yet been replaced. Horizon sign is supply issues. And township is going to replace the signs as the material becomes available. So that might take the summer or into fall before that gets finished. The West Rock Hill Township's comprehensive plan for 2019. There were action items identified for the Conservation Committee, and these were reviewed and discussed in our committee meeting. And we're going to revisit that and finalize and respond to these items at our next meeting. And our next meeting now is going to be on July 21st. That's actually all I have. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Schrameyer?
No questions.
No questions.
All right. I'll make a motion to approve the Conservation Committee report as presented. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Second's been made. All those signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Schrameyer. Commission reports. Penn Ridge Regional Police Chief Dickinson.
Good evening, everyone. I have the May 2022 activity report for the Penn Ridge Regional Police Department. We responded to 727 calls for service. Of those 727 calls, 353 were in East Rock Hill Township, 374 were in West Rock Hill Township. We handled 20 traffic crashes, 11 were reportable, 9 were non-reportable, 6 were in East Rock Hill, and the remaining 14 were in West Rock Hill. As far as criminal activity goes, we responded to 5 Part 1 crimes and 35 Part 2 crimes for a total of 40 crimes for the month of May. East Rock Hill Township, we had 1 domestic assault, 2 theft calls, 1 assault, 2 criminal mischiefs, 2 reports of sex offenses versus a minor, 2 narcotics complaints, 4 harassment complaints, and 5 ordinance violations. 3 of them involving dogs, 1 involving littering, and another one involving a burning complaint. For West Rock Hill Township, we had 1 assault, 1 burglary, 1 theft report, 1 fraud report, 1 DUI crash, 1 public drunk, 5 disturbances, and then we had 10 ordinance violations. 3 were related to fireworks, 2 were related to dogs, 4 of them were nuisance violations, and the last one was a littering complaint. Criminal charges filed by the officers in the month of May: 2 counts of arson, 2 counts of reckless endangerment, 1 count of dangerous burning, 1 count of criminal mischief, 1 count of public drunkenness, 1 assault, 2 harassments, 2 DUI charges, 1 dog law violation citation issued, 6 drug possession charges, and 4 drug paraphernalia charges, and 1 retail theft charge. Our other activities for the police department in the month of May was 194 traffic enforcement details, 50 traffic citations issued, 41 warnings issued, 22 school checks, 109 park checks. We conducted 10 foot patrols, and our officers our officers attended 176 hours of training in the month of May. So for the year, that has us at 3,868 calls for service, 117 accidents responded to, 166 offenses, 67 criminal charges, and our officers have attended 760 hours of training. And that would be the May report.
Okay. Any questions for the chief?
I have none.
Okay. Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion for approval of the police report as presented.
So moved, David Collingwood.
All right. Motion's been made by Mr. Collingwood. Do I hear a second? I'll second it. Okay. All those signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Hal, you're muted, just so you know.
There we go. Aye.
Okay. All right. Thank you, chief.
Thank you very much.
All right, moving forward. Next on the agenda is the Joint Recreation Authority, Ms. Jan Dietz. How are you, Mrs. Dietz?
Actually, Jan is not able to make it, so I've been asked to give the report for the Joint Park and Rec Authority.
Okay.
Essentially, we had the meeting. Meeting was held Thursday, June 2nd, 2022. Our meetings are held at Sellersville Borough Hall, up on the 4th floor, up on the 2nd floor. 4 members present. The final paperwork for the feasibility grant was completed by the deadline, May 31st. We expect to hear about acceptance or denial sometime in September, October of 2022. The committee has reached out to Joe Phillips and Donovan Architects out of Bedminster, who is going to go back and review the 2010 assessment and feasibility report. They were somewhat surprised that it's been 12 years since we had a feasibility report, and so far we've had essentially repairs, but no implementation of a lot of the suggestions. The big focus that we're looking at now is feasibility and fundraising. So everybody is putting their thinking caps on to find ways that we can either lower our costs, increase our membership, let everybody know that we have a municipal pool. I was not able to attend the meeting, so we are still have been discussing that we have a parking lot now which we are not using. Grandview Hospital has a bunch of construction equipment sitting in their parking lot. Hopefully we can find a way of making that work for both sides. The YMCA building foundation was filled in. Thank you to West Rock Hill and Sellersville road crews who were able to take some of the dirt that we had from West Rock Hill and a backhoe that they had in Sellersville and smooth that out so that you do not have a sudden drop. That's about it for the report for the Joint Recreation Committee. Thank you. Any questions?
Okay. I have no questions.
I do have a question, and I don't know if it's a fair question because how I don't think you were at the June 2nd meeting, and I didn't see a spreadsheet. But perhaps for the next meeting, I'd like to know West Rock Hill contributed $13,000 to the Joint Rec Authority earlier this year, and I'd like to know how that money has been used or will be used.
Yep, we are pulling together an update from the projected no operation budget that that was presented in, I believe, March, and then essentially go through the line items of where that has gone and where it's going towards. So we'll make sure to put that on the list of things to work on.
Thank you.
Okay.
No other questions?
I'd just like to add one thing, Hal. I want you to consider the parking lot there as far as having heavy equipment parked on there. Okay? Just consider that. Thank you. Okay. With that, I will make a motion to approve the Joint Rec Authority report as presented.
I will second that, David Collingwood.
Thank you, Mr. Collingwood. It's been seconded. All those signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Abstain because I just gave the report.
Okay. All right, thank you. Moving forward, next on the agenda is the tax collector's report. Suzanne Clark. Hello,
Okay.
Suzanne.
Good evening. Okay, for annual taxes for the month of June, I've collected $1,789.38 in annual taxes. No interims or streetlight taxes have been collected as of today's date in June. I just want to let everybody know that county and township tax bills that were issued March the 1st are due by June 30th in face, and I did mail out 171 friendly reminders today, indicating, telling folks who hadn't paid their taxes yet that they can still pay it in face. So that went in the mail today. And I also want to notify everyone that July 1st, the school tax bills will be going out. There is no increase in the school taxes this year. As a matter of fact, you might find a little decrease if you did apply for the homestead farmstead exclusion, because that went up a little bit this year. So we'll get a better deduction from our school tax bill this year. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Suzanne?
I have none.
Okay.
I have no questions.
All right, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
I'll second.
All right,
I'll move. Sorry, I'll move.
I'll second it, David Collingwood.
thank you. Okay, all those signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Moving forward, next on the agenda is the engineer's report. Mr. Bala.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the first item we have on the agenda is the Beagle Monti Land Development Plan, which is right there at the corner of Ridge Road and Almont. I believe Mr. Beagle is here. Is there another representative here tonight for the plan?
Yes, Andrew Stoll, counsel for the applicant.
Okay. If you wouldn't mind, give a little overview of the project and where we stand right now.
Sure, absolutely. Andrew Stoll, counsel for the applicant. Mr. Beagle is here as well, as is Jason Smealin, the applicant's engineer. If I can, I'd like to share my screen. I'm not sure exactly how to do so.
Okay, Sherry can stop. And there's a little arrow that says present now that's next to the raise your hand. And then you can present your screen.
Sure. Okay. And then I want to just show, so by way of background, this property is situated in the VC Village Commercial Zoning District, as I'm pulling up the aerial plan. It contains an existing non-conforming use, which is specifically an automotive repair shop. The automotive repair shop specializes in the repair and restoration of actually classic automobiles. So it's not your traditional, you don't take your 2018 Toyota there. There's also a residential home on the property, which is situated to the front of the property. There's an existing pole barn on the property, which is, if you can see where my cursor is right now. Now, that pole barn was the subject of a zoning application that came through the township years ago. What's being proposed as part of the application that's before you here tonight is what I'll call land development light. It's hardly land development, but what it is it's two identical, nearly identical pole barns further in the rear where my cursor is now. It did go through zoning. We did get zoning relief for the expansion of an existing non-conforming use and a variance to permit an accessory building that would be in excess of 18 feet. Inside of the pole barns is essentially just going to be storage. With a lot of these cars, there's a significant lag time, even more significant than you'd see now for traditional parts for cars. So cars are stored there, or will be stored there, assuming that everything goes according to plan for this application. This did go to the Planning Commission. We did receive a recommendation for preliminary final land development approval for those pole barns. We have one review letter, I believe, is all we've received to date. It's the Wynn Associates review letter dated March 22nd, 2022. I'll leave this to Jason Smealin, the applicant's engineer. Just about all the comments are a will comply. There are some waivers. Ultimately, we are requesting a recommendation for preliminary final approval. With that, I will turn it over to Mr. Smealin to add any additional comments.
Thanks, Drew. No, actually, I think you gave a pretty good synopsis of the project. With the Planning Commission, we primarily talked about the waivers. We spent some time talking about the waiver of improvements. Also, there was some landscaping items that we had to address, just exactly how the Planning Commission wanted us to address putting trees and the lack of space for street trees. But at the end of the day, they ended up making a recommendation to approve all of our waiver requests. I think we did our due diligence with the Planning Commission, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have about the design, but we're here tonight asking for preliminary and final approval.
Any of my fellow supervisors have any questions for Mr. Smealin?
David Collingwood, I have a comment.
Okay.
And I looked at the applicant's narrative based on the results of the zoning hearing board recommendation, and it says there shall be no commercial activity in either of the proposed pole barns other than the storage of classic vehicles. And in the March 22nd Wynn Associates letter, it basically says the same thing. New buildings being used for the storage of cars only. And I just want to caution that it's 2022. As time moves forward and people tend to forget, things sort of erode, that we're going to expect that nothing goes in those pole barns except cars that are being stored. There's going to be no body work. There's going to be no mechanical work, which is the way this has been presented. Just be aware that we're going to expect nothing but storage of automobiles in that building, in those buildings. It's my only comment.
Thank you.
I have no questions. I was listening in or was participating in the Planning Commission meeting, so everything looks correct based on what the Planning Commission really hashed out very well.
Okay, very good. I've shared Mr. Collingwood's comment. Storage of cars only in those pole buildings. I think that's understood. Is that correct?
Correct.
It is.
Okay, very good. Okay, moving forward then, are we looking for conditional preliminary final approval?
You'd be looking for direction to the solicitor to prepare the approval resolution for approval at next month's meeting.
I'll make that motion.
All right, we have a motion made.
I will second the motion.
Motion's been second. All those signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay.
And Andrew, if you're not familiar, Mary, either Kelly or Mary will prepare the approval resolution. She'll send you a copy. You acknowledge that you're in agreement with it, and then at the next month's meeting, it'll be ratified by the board.
Understood. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Okay, then the second item I have on the agenda is some land development maintenance status. Provided a memo dated June 8th. There's 3 projects that are up for completion of their maintenance period. First is Magnetic Specialties. That's down off of Keystone Drive. Caroluzzi, which is the truck repair on Old Bethlehem Pike, and Dominus Corp, which is the Twin Air shop on Anna Lane. I've re-inspected the first 2 because we talked about them before. They have now fully completed their obligations, and Dominus I also inspected, and that's acceptable for release. So what I'm recommending is that you make a motion to accept completion of the maintenance period for all 3 projects and release the remaining escrow funds.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion for that.
Second, David Collingwood.
Okay. Motion's been made and second. All those signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And I made that motion, by the way. Thank you.
Okay, and with that, that's all I have unless there's other questions.
I have none.
I have none.
I have no further questions.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion for approval of the engineer's report.
I'll move to approve the engineer's report.
Thank you. Motion
I'll second.
seconded. All those signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. All right, moving forward to solicitor report. Kelly Eberly.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. We just have one thing, the THP Investment Oakwood Terrace subdivision. Last month, you authorized our office to prepare a final plan approval resolution that was sent to the developer. They reviewed it, were okay with all of the conditions, and that resolution is before you tonight. So I'd ask for a motion from the board to adopt resolution 2002-05 as proposed, granting conditional final approval to the Oakwood Terrace subdivision plan.
I will make that motion. David Collingwood.
Okay, we have a motion made.
And I will second the motion for resolution 2002-05.
Okay, motion's been made and second. All those signify by saying aye.
Aye.
You have it.
Okay, that's all that I had on my report.
All right, thank you. I will ask for a motion to approve the solicitor report as presented.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion made,
I'll second it. David Collingwood.
seconded by Mr. Collingwood. All those signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you. Next on the agenda is the manager's report. Mr. Lippincott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first item I have is THP's investment. They have a request of 3 street names for their development: Oakwood Lane, Acorn Way, and Autumn Court. All that we need is a motion from the board, if those names are acceptable, to accept those 3 street names.
Anybody have any issues?
Names are okay for me. If no one else has issues, I'll make a motion that we approve those street names as presented by THP.
I'll second the motion and just add the comment. I did actually check, and there are no similar names within about 10 miles. So we shouldn't have any confusion by going to the wrong Oak Lane.
Very good. Thank you.
Well done.
Yep. Motion's been made and seconded. All those signify by saying aye.
Aye.
You have it, Greg.
Thank you. The next item is that we received a zoning hearing board application for 650 Cat Hill Road. Just wanted to let the board know that they are going to the Planning Commission next month to present their plan to the Planning Commission, and will be before the Board of Supervisors also at the July meeting to present the plan before they go to the zoning hearing board on August 3rd. No action is needed. It's just to inform the board that they'll be coming in next month.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Is that all, Mr. Lippincott?
That's all I have.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve the manager's report.
So moved.
Motion's been made.
Second, David Collingwood.
Second. Thank you, Mr. Collingwood. All those signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Wonderful. All right, moving forward. Next on the agenda is old business. Anybody have any old business they want to talk about?
David Collingwood. I have 2 items. I guess I'll address these to Mr. Lippincott. What is the status of the arm mower?
The arm mower is currently down. The main lift cylinder failed and is at Kenco Hydraulics being rebuilt. They're trying desperately to get the parts. They know it's a priority, but currently it is down. The Public Works is hand clearing and weed whacking all the intersections currently to make sure that the clear sight triangles are being done so people can turn left and right.
Good.
However, as soon as the arm mower is back out, they'll be mowing the sides of the roads.
Thank you. Second question, Mr. Lippincott. How are we doing with the salt shed?
The salt shed is progressing along. The arches have just started to go up for the frame of the building. So the first 3 arches are up and it's moving along.
We're going to be able to fill it with salt, right?
We will be able to fill it with salt. Currently, we're filling the old salt shed, and we'll fill as much as the new salt shed as possible with last year's salt bid, which will be considerably less than this coming year's state contract with salt.
That's good news.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Collin. I had
No
the same.
questions for the manager.
Go ahead, Hal.
No questions for Greg.
Okay. I had a couple calls too about the arm mowing, so I'm pleased to know that it's being rebuilt and should be back out there shortly, hopefully. Any new business? Anybody have any new business to talk about?
Well, one comment or one observation, actually going right back, 650 Cat Hill Road, years ago used to be the Finberg or Feinberg farm. It appears that the plan for 650 Cat Hill is going to remove the old farmhouse that appears to currently still be there. It's at the end of a very, very long lane of nasty honey locusts. But it occurred to me that if part of this development is going to include removing an old farmhouse, the Heritage House right across the street could probably reuse the old boards, reuse some of the coping, rather than just driving a dozer through it.
Good point.
Thank you for the comment, Hal.
Because the Historical Society, I think, recently had the note of they were able to salvage old timbers when they redid what had been the one-room schoolhouse. Perhaps something similar would work with this, rather than scrapping the wood, and especially if it's possible to get the chair railings and the moldings. Those are hard to find and hard to replace.
Right.
Let's keep that in mind.
Thank you.
Yep.
Nothing further.
Okay, thanks. Okay, seeing no other new business. Public comment, Mr. Lippincott. We have any public comment?
I have no email public comment.
Okay, thank you. All right, I don't see any on here. I'm looking.
John Swearduck just raised his hand.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Swearduck.
Thank you, sir. Two quick comments. First one is I've noticed at the park signs that weed killer was used along the fence line on the ball fields. I trust that whatever product was used is safe, such that if a child picks up a ball that was rolling around in that stuff and later sticks their fingers in their mouth, they're not going to get sick. My second point is with regard to the pool. When we did the last comprehensive plan update, we did a resident survey, as everybody knows. And because at that point in time, the pool had already been an issue for discussion, that we asked 2 questions specifically related to the pool as part of that resident survey. The first question was simply, are folks aware that there is a public pool in the township? And 80% of the people responded yes. The second question was, do you support the township having a public pool? And to that question, 73% of the people responded yes. We didn't ask anybody what support meant. We left it open that way. But based on those numbers, and assuming that there has been no other data since, another option for the Joint Rec Authority might be to consider probing that question a little bit more deeply with the residents. And my suggestion would be that to try to get the Joint Rec Authority over the hump in terms of getting a pool that's financially independent and sustainable, that we go back to the residents and ask whether the residents would be willing to accept a temporary tax increase with the funds generated by that increase to go exclusively for the operation and maintenance of the pool. 5 years, 3 years, something like that. It would give the team time to develop a long-range plan to get themselves financially independent. It would ensure that we wouldn't be in the situation that we were this year, where a couple of weeks before we're ready to open the pool, we still don't know whether we can afford it or not. Give the team time to come up with a plan, implement it, test it, tweak it, and then hopefully when we get to the end of the 5-year period, the pool is self-sufficient. If, on the other hand, we put the question to the residents and the residents say, you know what, to me, pool is a 4-letter word, I'm not interested in supporting it, then you've got
2.5
another data
minutes are
point.
up.
You've got another data point to use. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Swartuck, for your comments. The board will take them under advisement. Any other public comment, Greg? No.
So I saw Tony's hand go up.
Okay. Tony? Are you muted?
I can't hear
Still
him.
up? I can't hear him either.
He's not muted.
Not hearing you, Tony.
Is there anyone else that has public comment?
But while Tony tries to get the microphone working, I did have a quick response to follow up on the prior question. Actually, that's essentially what one of the things that Holiday House did when they were first starting out in 69, 70 through 74. They first took out a bank loan, then rolled that into a municipal bond. Then there was actually a resolution from, I think, 73 or 74, where there was an authorization for a fund Holiday House temporary tax, which is buried in the like 4-5 inch thick binder of information about Holiday House that I had Greg pull and spent too much time looking through. So there are a lot of those similar options. That part of it is not reinventing the wheel, but going back to the way we financed the construction and looking at that for financing the reconstruction.
Thank you.
And okay, now Tony's muted. Yep.
You there, Tony? I'm not hearing him.
I don't know if he can use the phone number to call in.
You there, Tony?
Maybe the July meeting.
Yeah. All right. Well, since Tony has problems with his mic.
Technical difficulties.
That's right. I'm going to close public comment.
Thank you.
And I am going to ask for adjournment into executive session.
I'll make that motion to adjourn.
All
I'll
right.
second motion to adjourn.
Motion's been made and second. All those signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Thank you all for coming and participating. Thanks for your input.
Have a good night.
Yep. Have a good night.